The Shadow of the Phoenix, Will Megan DiMera Storm, Stefano's will reading and tear the family apart all over again. Listen, folks, if you've been riding the roller coaster that is Days of Our Lives for as long as I have, and I've been in the writer's room, crafting these DiMera disasters since the days when Stefano was still swapping bodies like they were suits off the rack. You know, one thing for certain, the Phoenix never really dies. He just waits. He plots. And when the family least expects it, he rises from the ashes with a grin that could curdle Salem's finest coffee. We all thought we'd seen the last of Stefano DiMera back in the early 2010s, when that final death felt different, more final, more haunting. But the man had cheated mortality so many times before that even the most hardened viewers kept one eye on the family crypt, half expecting the stone to slide open and that unmistakable voice to boom out, "I am the Phoenix." For over a decade, the speculation swirled like a Salem snowstorm. Was it really him in there? Had he pulled off one last switcheroo? Had he faked it again? Leaving some poor soul's remains in his place while he sipped Chianti on a private island, orchestrating one final game of chess with his children as the pawns. Then, in those frostbitten weeks of early 2026, the confirmation hit like a thunderclap. The DiMera family gathered under the weight of that Gothic mausoleum that has seen more drama than most daytime operas received the DNA results that left no room for doubt. Those remains, they belonged to Stefano. No more questions. No more loopholes. The Phoenix had finally, truly, flown his last flight. The silence that fell over the crypt that day was deafening. You could almost hear the collective exhale of relief, mixed with the cold dread that comes when you realize the monster under the bed might be gone, but his shadow is still very much alive in the mirror. And now, just weeks later, the moment we've all been waiting for is barreling toward us like a freight train with no brakes. This month, right here in April 2026, the long-awaited reading of Stefano DiMera's last will and testament is set to explode across our screens. E.J. DiMera, ever the dutiful and ever-calculating son, has taken it upon himself to organize the family gathering. Picture it, the DiMera mansion drawing room. Heavy velvet drapes drawn against the prying eyes of Salem. Crystal decanters of aged scotch lined up like soldiers. And every sibling eyeing the others with that familiar mix of love, loathing, and pure, unfiltered suspicion. E.J. will stand at the head of the table, envelope in hand, trying to look solemn while his mind races through every possible landmine their father could have buried in those pages. Because make no mistake, Stefano DiMera doesn't leave a will. He leaves a blueprint for chaos. The family knows it. They've been whispering about it for months, ever since the confirmation of his death turned rumor into reality. Chad, Chris, and Tony. E.J., each one of them has spent sleepless nights wondering how the old man plans to keep pulling strings from beyond the grave. Stefano was never one for tidy goodbyes. He thrived on division, on pitting brother against brother, sister against sister, all in the name of keeping the DiMera empire strong through fire. E.J. has confided in more than one late-night scene that he fears this document is designed to do exactly that, fracture the siblings once and for all. Chad, the reluctant heir who just wants to build a life with Abigail's memory and his own children, will be forced to confront the possibility that his father's final act strips him of any claim to the family fortune or the company he's fought so hard to legitimize. Kristen, with her razor-sharp ambition, and that DiMera fire burning hotter than ever, is already sharpening her claws, convinced the will holds some secret weapon she can wield against her brothers. And Tony, dear loyal, yet perpetually underestimated, Tony will sit there with that quiet dignity, wondering if Stefano's final words will finally acknowledge the son who stood by him through every resurrection and every betrayal. But here's where the story takes that delicious, stomach-churning turn that only Days of Our Lives can deliver. What if the will we're about to hear isn't the one Stefano originally penned? What if someone with the cunning, the resources, and the sheer audacity has tampered with it? And what if that someone is the one DiMera the family thought they'd seen the back of for good? Enter Megan DiMera. Oh, Megan. If Stefano was the Phoenix, Megan was the spark that kept the flames licking at the family's heels long after he was supposedly gone. Last we saw her back in that sweltering July of 2023, she was making her dramatic exit from Salem after her latest masterstroke went up in smoke. She'd tried once again to bend the entire DiMera clan to her will through one of those elaborate brainwashing schemes that would make even Stefano proud. The woman had the nerve to hook her siblings up to some infernal machine, convinced that if she could just scrub their minds clean and reprogram them, She could seize control of the empire her father had built. It was vintage Megan, ruthless, theatrical, and utterly convinced that the ends justified the most diabolical means. When the plan imploded, as these things so often do in Salem, she slipped away under cover of night, leaving behind a trail of shattered alliances and a promise that she'd be back when the time was right. For nearly 3 years, the airwaves went quiet on Megan. No sightings, no taunting postcards, just the kind of radio silence that makes a longtime viewer's skin prickle with anticipation. But those of us who've watched this family for decades know better than to believe a DiMera is ever truly out of the picture. Megan didn't just vanish, she regrouped. She watched from the shadows while the rest of the clan danced around Stefano's empty throne. And now, with the will reading looming, every instinct screams that she's been biding her time for exactly this moment. Imagine the scene we could be heading toward. The drawing room doors creak open mid-reading. The lawyer's voice falters. Every head snaps toward the entrance, and there she stands, Megan, dressed in something sleek and black that screams both mourning and victory. That signature smirk playing on her lips like she's savoring a private joke. Did I miss the party, she'd purr, stepping into the light as if she owns every inch of the mansion. The siblings would erupt, EJ demanding security, Kristen rising with fire in her eyes, Chad looking equal parts exhausted and furious, Tony trying in vain to keep the peace, and Megan, she'd simply glide to the table, pour herself a drink from Stefano's favorite decanter, and announce that the will they're about to hear is, well, let's just say it's been given a few improvements. How could she have pulled it off? The details are still shrouded in that perfect soap opera fog, but the pieces are there if you look close enough. Megan has always had allies in the most unexpected places, shady lawyers, corrupt judges, even a few DiMera loyalists who never quite bought that she was finished. Perhaps she intercepted the original document months ago. Perhaps she forged a codicil that redirects the bulk of the empire DiMera enterprises, the offshore accounts, the hidden properties straight into her hands. Or perhaps Stefano himself, in one of his final lucid moments, slipped her a contingency plan, knowing full well that only Megan possessed the cold brilliance to execute it. Either way, the power shift would be seismic. The siblings who've spent years clawing for control would suddenly find themselves answering to the sister they once dismissed as a footnote in the family saga. And let's be honest, the DiMera power struggle has never been just about money. It's about legacy. It's about who gets to carry the name forward with the same ruthless elegance that defined Stefano. EJ has positioned himself as the natural successor, the one who understands the boardroom battles and the back alley deals. Chad wants nothing more than to walk away from the darkness, yet the pull of blood keeps dragging him back. Kristen thrives on the chaos, turning every corporate takeover into a personal vendetta. Tony, ever the gentleman, believes in honor among thieves until the thieves start stealing from each other. Megan's return would throw gasoline on every simmering resentment. Old wounds would reopen the brainwashing attempt of 2023. The years of being treated as the unstable daughter, the constant comparisons to their father's favorite sons. The mansion would echo with accusations slammed doors and the kind of raw, ugly confrontations that make Days of Our Lives the gold standard of daytime drama. But here's the real question that's been keeping me up at night. The one every viewer is whispering to their television screens. Will Megan actually appear at the will reading? Will she stride through those doors and claim her place at the head of the table? Or will she strike from the shadows first, maybe leaking altered pages to the press, maybe sending anonymous threats, maybe even kidnapping one of the siblings to force a private negotiation? The writers have been laying breadcrumbs for months now, subtle ones, if you know where to look. It's a mysterious phone call. EJ brushed off in a recent episode, a shadowy figure Kristen spotted outside the mansion gates, a cryptic reference Tony made to family members who refused to stay buried. It all points toward one explosive payoff. Think about the history. Stefano loved nothing more than a grand reveal. And what better stage than his own will reading? He trained his children to expect the unexpected, to look over their shoulders even when the grave was sealed. If Megan has indeed tampered with the document, it wouldn't just be revenge or greed. It would be her proving she is the true heir to the Phoenix throne. She'd be finishing what her father started, ensuring the DiMera name remains synonymous with power, intrigue, and that deliciously dark edge that keeps Salem glued to its screens. Of course, nothing is ever simple in this town. Even if Megan does crash the party, the siblings won't go down without a fight. Chad might threaten to walk away for good, taking his share and his children with him. Kristen could ally with the devil himself, literally, knowing her if it means toppling Megan. EJ would launch a full-scale legal war, calling in every favor he's collected over the years. Tony would try to broker peace, only to find himself caught in the crossfire. And through it all, the ghost of Stefano would be laughing from the crypt, delighted that his final masterpiece is unfolding exactly as he planned. We've seen DiMera wills before. Remember the one that pitted EJ against Chad over the company's shares, or the time Stefano left everything to a secret child no one knew existed? This one feels bigger. This one feels like the culmination of decades of manipulation, resurrection, and family warfare. The stakes aren't just financial, they're emotional, psychological, and deeply personal. One wrong word from that lawyer, one surprise appearance from Megan, and the fragile truce the siblings have maintained since Stefano's confirmed death could shatter into 1,000 glittering pieces. So do I think Megan will appear at Stefano's will reading in the near future? My gut, honed by years of scripting these very twists, says yes. Not just appear, but dominate. The timing is too perfect, the tension too thick, the history too rich. She's been gone long enough to become a legend in her own right. And Salem needs her back to remind us why the DiMeras are the beating black heart of this show. Will the predicted scenario unfold exactly as we've speculated? Probably not word for word. Days of Our Lives loves to zig when we expect to zag, but the spirit of it, the drama, the betrayal, the power grab that leaves everyone reeling, absolutely. The reading is coming, the doors are about to open, and if Megan walks through them, Salem will never be the same. Grab your popcorn, folks, pour yourself something strong. Because when the Phoenix's daughter steps into the light, the fire is just getting started. We'll be watching every second, and so will you. Let's wait and see, but something tells me we won't have to wait long.